Hey guys, welcome back. So this video is sort of like a remake of an old video. I'm like sort of redoing it with like not a fresher perspective necessarily, but an older perspective. So we're going to be talking about the Akashic Records. As you all know, 2020 was not a great year for the human race. We had a pretty shitty time at that point, and there wasn't really much going on. Well, okay, there was a lot going on, but most of us had to watch the world burn from our houses. During this time, because when I get stuck inside for too long, I go absolutely crazy, I decided that I wanted to do a bit more meditating. I had just quit smoking and I needed something to like fill up my time that wasn't a vice. So I decided to get back into meditation. While I was still smoking, meditation was really hard. I couldn't really focus, or I ended up almost falling asleep because I was smoking so much. And now that I'd stopped smoking, I felt like, oh, I think I can meditate again, and I think I can actually, keep it up this time. And then I got the brilliant idea that maybe I should do a group meditation thing. I know what you're thinking. Lockdown, zero contact with human people. Mickey, how were you doing group meditations? The answer was simple. Now, social media is a toxic place, of course, but there are some occasions where it's actually a very powerful tool for humanity. This was one of those times. Through Instagram, I started a group chat with some of my closest friends and decided that I wanted to do group meditation with them. The whole idea was that we would pick a time, pick a date, and we would all start at the same time, like we'd message and say, go in now, show each other our like little meditation spaces and everything. And then we'd all start meditating in whatever way we wanted to. We'd all meditate at the same time. That was the most important thing. And we'd like draw and focus on each other's energy so we could add more energy into the whole meditation. And after we had our meditation sessions, we would all come back roughly around the same time. Sometimes some of us would meditate for an extra 20 minutes or an extra 5 minutes or whatever. But usually within the hour, we'd all be back in the group chat on Instagram talking about our meditation experience. And more often than not, these experiences lined up. Now I know some people think, oh, meditation doesn't work, or what do you mean they added up? That's not real, like, oh, this was all placebo. I promise you, and all of these girls will vouch for me, we had some trippy experiences, and it was beautiful. One of the things I've been trying to do the most since I got into spirituality and witchcraft and I started delving down the whole meditation path was I really wanted to learn more about and reach the Akashic Records. And that is where this video is going. Whether you believe in the Akashic Records or not, I'm going to tell this story because it happened. Whether it was placebo, whether it's just my overactive imagination, because I do have an overactive imagination, whatever it was, these experiences with the Akashic Records were absolutely beautiful, and I like to share these stories because I haven't visited this in a while, and the last time I did was just after it had happened. So if you can't throw caution to the wind with this, and you want to be boring and say that it's not real, jog on. You're not welcome here. This is for people who want to believe in magic, and this is for people who are willing to suspend their disbelief. So as I was saying, I've wanted to reach the Akashic Records and visit them a couple of times for quite a few years, and it wasn't until 2020 that I actually got the chance. For this video, I'm going to have to break out my old meditation journal. Ooh, that shines really nice. Because my memory is really bad. Like, I know lots of random things about lots of other random things, but remembering it all, no. This is why I write everything down, because then I can just go back to it and it'll just come back into my head. But when I start talking to people about things, it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about, which is real frustrating, but there we have it. So writing really helps. That's how I remember things. And for the entire of 2020, and I do mean practically the entirety of 2020, I kept this meditation journal which documented all of my group meditations practically, and some of my solo ones too. So we will be consulting that journal as I'm talking about these experiences. The reason I like to talk about these Akashic Records experiences is because they were always during the group meditations. I've tried to access them myself and it's like there wasn't enough power to draw on. And there was a synchronistic experience that happened with one of the other group members whilst I was visiting the records that sort of like confirmed that it was actually happening. I do like to think logically, but I also still wish that a vampire would take me away. So I don't care how old I get. I could be 50 and I could still wish for that. But my point is, I like to believe these things, and I've had lots of weird experiences that make me think that these things are real. So enough about trying to make you believe that they're real. I know that they're real in my heart, and even if they're not, I'm on the ride, man, and I feel sorry for anyone else who isn't. So these two experiences, and if I go back through the journal, they happened on the 10th of April 2020. One was just before 10 p.m. The other one was on the 13th of April 2020, and it was just after 9. So they were almost exactly within 3 days of each other, and that's almost down to the hour, which that's pretty spooky, but yeah. So we'll talk about the first experience now, and then we'll go into the second one afterwards, because the first one was more profound because it was the first time I actually ever went to the records, and the second time was me pushing my luck. I'll read a little excerpts out of my journal for this because it's a little bit more descriptive. I began at a bridge of white on top of a lake of stars in the cosmos. A grand white building was in front of me. I saw my friends next to me, all of us in a line. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. In my meditation, I do like world building or like landscapes or scape meditation. So I like build like whole worlds and scenes and places that I can go, and it's just whatever comes into my head. And one of my safe spaces that my mind always wandered back to was this big lake, huge lake. And in the middle of the lake, there was a stone big enough for me to sit on, and I'm not that big, so it wasn't a huge stone, but it was big enough for any person to sit on. And in the background, there were huge, luscious mountains. And more often than not, it would be just at sunset or just at dawn, and there'd more often than not be fireflies all flying around me. But for this particular time, according to the journal, there were no fireflies. I originally saw that bridge and the sea of cosmos and stars. Then I went to the safe space, and then I was transported back to the library. For this particular time, I managed to go inside the library, and everything was just like sheer white. That's the biggest thing I remember from being in the library, like as a descriptive thing. The Akashic Records appeared to me as this huge towering building, all white, like think like white marble. It was just grand and sparkly, and there were just stars and like magical pure white light everywhere. They were like towering shelves of books that were just like going up to the top everywhere you could see. And this was when I met a being who was just, you know, chilling in the Akashic Records in the library. It was just chilling in the library, just doing its thing. One thing led to another in this meditation and this projection, and the cosmic being ended up taking me on basically a tour of the records of the library. It kept asking me what I wanted to see. Verbally and physically and even mentally, I don't think I had an answer. I wasn't sure what I wanted to see. My only goal for this meditation was I wanted to try and reach the Akashic Records, because I've been trying a couple of times already. I don't remember actually answering what do you want to see. Instead, this being just held out a book in front of me, like quite literally, like, and I just touched it, like literally just went, touched it. And instantly, as soon as I touched it, I was transported to Italy, which would make sense subconsciously because I, as well as being Welsh, I am Italian, and it's like my life's biggest dream to make a pilgrimage to my ancestral homeland. But for this particular experience, I was transported to Florence, I think, and it also happened to be during the Renaissance, and I was basically just like walking through the street. I wasn't like spectral, I wasn't astral, I was like a physical form just walking through the streets of Florence, and it was so beautiful. It was like the height of summer. There were canvases everywhere and people sketching and people playing on like old-time guitars. It was intensely beautiful, but I felt so peaceful. I also saw all of my friends like dotted around in this landscape of Florence, this like Akashic landscape. They were all just everywhere, like in the crowd, and like I would look and I would see one of them over there, and I would see one of them there, and I'd see another one like in with the canvases. It was trippy, to say the least. Then for some reason I was pulled out of that and just slap bang put into a scene watching Da Vinci paint the Mona Lisa. Don't know why, but yeah, I was watching. It was sort of like, imagine like watching from behind Da Vinci. So I couldn't see his face, but I could just see him like painting and making, you know, one of the most famous pieces of art in history. I swear the curator was like messing with me, because I also got to peek into his journals and I saw like his helicopter sketch and all other things, and then it was only for like a quick instant and then bam! I was brought straight back to the library then after that crazy like astral experience of Renaissance Florence. All of my friends were in the library as well, all of them, and I could see all of their auras. Like, I don't, like, when I was doing this meditation, I don't think any of the girls were like trying to access the records or the library themselves. If any of you were watching this, girls, and I got that wrong, I am sorry. I can't remember. It was like 3 years ago, can you believe it? Like, I won't bore you on the details of like everyone's aura color, because I don't think it really, like, it's not gonna make much difference to you guys. So after I saw all the girls in the library and I was back there, I then started speaking to this cosmic being who I started calling the curator, which is, yeah, when you hear me mention the cosmic curator or the curator, this is who I'm talking about. So it held out another book to me, and this time I was transported to a little town in New England. I just know that it was like sort of New England just after it had been established, or like, you know, not too long after it being established. Definitely colonial period. From what I remember, definitely colonial period. And the girls and me were all setting up a settlement. That was probably just like a metaphorical or symbolic sort of like vision. I haven't quite made sense of the New England one, to be honest. I'm not a history buff either, so that one still, to this day, I need to do a bit more research on that, because I'm not sure what the relevance of that one was, but... And then I was transported back to the library. That one was even more brief than the Florence one. This meditation session was so intense, and this is another reason why I think I actually did go to the library, was because I almost passed out like 3 or 4 times, like physically in the real world, like, or in this reality. I genuinely almost passed out each time. Like, each time I was like jumping back and forth between like Italy, New England, the library, and then coming in and out of like my own consciousness. Also, looking at my journal, for some reason the number 13 was really like important for most of my meditations, especially during this time. Numbers, there were always certain numbers that were really important, and for this particular meditation and this trip to the Akashic Records, 13 was the number. I tried to get this group to be like a public thing, and during this meditation I saw the face of a girl that I knew in real life. I can't quite remember who it was though now. I didn't write it down either. Fool! I like to think that she was meditating with us that day. It's all speculation, I don't know, like that could just be wishful thinking. But yeah, I like to think that she was meditating with us that day, and I was just getting like a little glimpse of the fact that she was sort of just going, hey girl. And then still in the library, I saw all of us like sitting in a circle, and we were like holding hands, and white pillars of light were coming up from us, and then we started floating in a circle, like all of us just like, I don't know what that dance was. But yeah, we were just levitating. And then the end of that meditation, for reasons I do not know, I saw one of my friends in Japan, like at the foot of Mount Fuji, for whatever reason. If you're curious if that's you, ask me. Maybe you'll know why I saw you at the bottom of Mount Fuji. The curator touched me, and I was transported back to reality. I tried to meditate again, but I couldn't. I tried to go back into like the deep state. I still have my headphones with the frequencies and the binaural beats on. I was trying to get back into it, but I just couldn't. That was it. It was like, girl, you're done. Like, this is the end of your session now. This meditation session felt like it went on for a very long time as well, but I'm clever, see, and I wrote down how long all of these meditations roughly lasted, and according to this book, it only lasted 17 minutes. Like, that's crazy. That's nothing. I'm telling you, it did not feel like 17 minutes. It felt like a hell of a lot longer. That was my first experience in the Akashic Records, in the library itself. And I'll always just remember how brilliantly bright and white and ethereal and grand it all felt. There were so many stars, but it was like, not when you look up at space and see stars. It was like, because it's always on a black or like a Prussian blue background. No, it was like the background was white, and these stars were just like, not like what, it wasn't quite white. It was like a colour almost between white and yellow that I can't quite explain, and it was really bright, but it was also dark. And the curator sort of had the same like thing as well. No facial features at all, just like an oval head, really long arms. It was like way taller than me, which isn't hard because I'm really short, but I mean like it was not human length. I mean, in a way, not quite, but in a way, have you seen like, you know, AI, like the Steven Spielberg, the Stanley Kubrick film AI with Haley Joel Osment, the AI at the end of that, or the beings at the end of Knowing with Nicolas Cage? It sort of looked like that. I'll put pictures of both of these right here, and I'll move back so I'm still in the frame, but it sort of looked like this, but like more white with little bits of yellow and lots of stars. But this is the closest thing I can think of off the top of my head, especially with the no facial features and the elongated arms and legs. But that was my first experience in the Akashic Records, and that was like a whole 3 years ago now. But I just remember afterwards I was in quite a bit of a state of shock. It must have been the next experience where I had confirmation that I was in the records from another one of my friends who was meditating with me. I'm gonna have to check. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here because I don't know how long this is gonna be, and keep you in the mood for part 2. As always, my friends, blessed be. I hope you're having a lovely day, and I hope you enjoyed my retelling of my first experience in the Akashic Records. And I will catch you in part 2. Bye guys!